Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Nunez, along with producer Alden Iwani. Our special guest today, Socorro head football coach Damien Ocampo, whose Warriors got the number 1 seed. And, Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
You know, Coach, you mentioned to me you come from a family of coaches. You played at Socorro back in the day. Played for your father. Your brother Aaron is the coach at Centennial. They've got the number 3 seed in 6A. Not a surprise that you ended up following your dad's footsteps, your brother's footsteps. It's a football family. Talk a little bit about that connection there, because I was pretty surprised, and I had a big smile because when seeing playing for your father. Talk a little bit about that, playing back for your father. You had a heck of a career there at Socorro. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate. Had a great life growing up. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and I have 2 brothers, and all of us were very involved with football. My father grew up in Southern California in a real rough area, and football was his way out. So he played at BYU. He was a Division I football player, and he started coaching right away when he got done playing, and he raised us, and me and all my brothers. We'd be on every away trip. I remember, sleeping on a bus next to the heater, late in the season when it's freezing cold out, and as I was the ball boy. And so me and my brothers were brought up in it. I think we've always had a love with football, and we're very fortunate to have good parents who really pushed us hard, and all of us wanted to give back and become coaches also. So, I'm real fortunate to have some really good coaches around me. And my brother, in my mind, he's the coach at Centennial. He's probably like one of the best top 2 or 3 football minds I've ever been around. So he's the real deal. I think he's kind of like the mark, at least in my mind, as far as the quality of coaches around. He really loves it, and I'm thankful to have somebody I can lean on like that.
That says a lot. That you've been around football a long time, and your brother Aaron, he played at UNM. You mentioned the former head coach at Monzano High School as well. So having someone like that, I can only imagine the conversations and how often you text each other or talk to each other about schemes, adjustments. I'm sure he watches your team and you watch his, I'm sure. Sometimes it helps to have a fresh pair of eyes. Who do you trust when you need to talk football and you need to make adjustments, things like that? Who are you going to trust? And it's great to have. By you saying that gave me chills, because I look up to my older brother. He's 5 years older than me, and I still look up to him. I still do. So having that kind of connection there, that's got to be really special.
It is. I mean, you see, I don't know. There's some great coaches in this state. There really is. And there's a lot of football families, and we all get along. I think there's like an extended family we all have in the football coaching field, especially with football, because all of our issues are very similar. But, with my brother, he does so much with a good coaching staff and good, tough kids over there at Centennial. And I mean, I think everybody in 6A runs into it, because you see the Clevelands and the Rio Ranchos, and then, this year the Hobbs and some other teams in there, La Cueva, they're just loaded with Division I talent, and when you have a team like Centennial that has some talented kids on there for sure, but man, those guys have to strap on every week, and they never shy away from any competition. They're playing the best schools in El Paso, and then turning around and playing the best schools in New Mexico, and they compete week in and week out. I mean, he's such a good coach. So man, you're right. I'm so thankful to have him, and all the other friends I have in the coaching field.
Yeah, it's quite a fraternity. And, let's talk a little bit about the Warriors. 10-0 on the season. Quite impressive. I added it up, averaging 45.2 points per game on offense, and only giving up 6.3 points per game on defense. Last 4 games, you've hit shutouts against Gallup, against Hatch Valley, against Hot Springs, and against Cobre. Very impressive, and I think defense travels well in the playoffs, right? It does. You have to feel happy about that. That's 4 straight shutouts. What's been the success to the Socorro defense? I mean, that's impressive. Only giving up 6.3 points per game is very impressive. What's been the success?
I believe we're very good in the box. Our defensive line, we have a couple seniors on our defensive line, Damian Greenwood and Xavier Aguilar. They're both, or Xamian Aguilar. They're both solid. They bring a lot of leadership and a lot of quickness and toughness up front. We have a young sophomore who's an outstanding player now, and he's got such a bright future, and that's Junior Gutierrez. He's a great ball player, but our linebackers really kind of seal the deal. They're the icing on the cake, and they've been around me for a while. It's the best group of linebackers I've ever had. They're led by Caden Moreland and Brian Armijo, and then we have our weak side linebacker, Kurtnacker, Warren Kurtnacker. He's a special player. I think he'll be long snapping at the next level for sure. And I believe both those other two linebackers will be playing at the next level. And then we have a young sophomore who really stepped up this year, Kenyon Scarborough. So our box is as good as anybody's in the state. And we have a little bit of a inexperienced secondary, but we've had some kids step up this year, some basketball players who came out, and some other kids who really stepped up when they had to. And they're doing a great job, our secondary. So, we're pretty solid there. I'm really happy with our kids. Our schedule maybe wasn't as tough as some of the other teams in the state, but we did get challenged this year quite a bit. But man, we've been playing lights out the last 3 or 4 games.
When you talk about linebackers and you mentioned some players, are you saying what makes that box so strong? Is it the speed between the hashes, the run recognition, fill in the gaps? What is it? Coverage. When you give up 6.3 points per game, someone's doing a great job. Your defensive coordinator, obviously, right? He's got to scheme it all and make sure everything works. But what is it? Is it the speed, the physicality of those linebackers? What's the strength of that linebacking core?
Golly. The answer is yes. Everything you hit on, I guess. We start off obviously with our run fits and our aiming points up front, and then they have to read and conquer the blocking scheme or whatever blocks they're seeing. So that takes a lot of time to teach them that. And then our linebackers, for them to key their keys up and make sure that their run fits are solid. And then like you said, not just hash mark to hash mark, but sideline to sideline. We run very well at linebacker. We're pretty fast at linebacker, and our secondary's done a great job with, tackling, and our linebackers too. It's in high school football. Many times you see offenses that are solid, but they're maybe not as consistent. And if you can make an offense be consistent and like go a whole drive and to overcome penalties and everything else, then you're going to be pretty good on defense if you tackle well and don't give up the huge play. So we've been doing pretty well there. We tackle well and we're willing to line up and play again, and so we're doing it all pretty well right now. Although there's plenty to improve on for sure.
Any coach is going to say that, right? You're going to say that you're the number 1 seed. It's a 10-0 season. You've got the marks on your back for sure, right? Everyone wants to beat Socorro. Anybody that's undefeated, right? They figure, hey, we're in the playoffs. It's our turn to we'll be the first one to beat them. 100 wins in 14 years as head coach. Socorro High School, you've only lost 6 games in the past 5 years, 5 district championships in a row. You mentioned that, the dedication and hard work of the kids, everyone else attached to the program. Coach, it's hard to win, right? It's hard to win. It's hard to establish that continuity of winning. Talk about that, because I cover Western New Mexico, right? For ProView Networks. And I love being out there. And it's hard for them. They've won their 5th game for the first time since 2008 in football this past Saturday. Talk a little bit about it. It's hard to win, right? It's hard to establish that continuity. You've done a good job there. Talk a little bit about how it's been to build it. You mentioned the community, the players, the coaches. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, when I came back coaching about 5 years ago, the first thing I did, 6 years ago now, I went out and recruited the coaches. I went out and recruited guys in the community who really cared about kids, guys in the community that wanted an outlet to serve our young people. And I think we got the right fit there. And then we went after kids. When I took over the program, the kids in the program hadn't won a district game their whole career. They were 0 for 4 years in a row, I believe, in district, and they were starving for success. I mean, they were hungry, and they were ready to work. So we started off with that nucleus, and then we recruited as many kids as we could. We beat the bushes. We talked to parents, and overnight it seemed like we went from 15 kids to 55 kids. And you know, being able to bring those kids in and give them an outlet, you know, give them an outlet where they can express their, you know, masculinity, and where they can kind of get after things, and they can start working to for something a little bit more important than themselves. And worked a lot of character building. You know, we still do today. We constantly try to put people in front of these kids who have succeeded, who have overcome things, and really getting kids to understand that the adversities in life, not just in football, but in life, you know, happen for us, and they don't happen to us. So they have more of an attitude of conquering things. I think if you can plant that seed, and they start working hard for each other, the wins will take care of themselves. So that's what we've done, and we've been pretty successful. You know, although this year being the 1 seed, I don't know that there's a 1 seed this year in 3A. There's 5 teams that I think that can make a run in 3A or 4A. I mean, they're just so good. So it's going to come down to who can stay healthy. We're real banged up right now. Hopefully we can get healthy quick, and who's going to make the least amount of mistakes and play physical football.
The other thing is, too, it comes down to a break, right? A turnover here, a bounce here, a call there, right? Any championship run it has that. So again, you said it yourself. You mentioned Robertson, St. Mike's, some other teams in that class. We'll get the bracket up when we come back. But there's a lot of things on the road to a championship. And Socorro right now sitting good, but you as a coach, the wheels are turning every day. What do we have to do to get there, right? To get that blue trophy, because everyone is seeking the same thing you are. Coach, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We'll talk more about the Socorro Warriors after these messages on the Sports Desk.
Set up. Crane almost gets the kill out of it, and then it goes in just over the net. Couldn't high point that ball.
Pius with some real estate. Montoya, there she goes. She's going to get a shot on the goal. Montoya, it's good. First goal of the game is the senior, Natasha Montoya, for her 20th goal of the season.
Wrestle for the ball, no signal, and Wallen comes away with it. Interception for Nathaniel Wallen.
Though pushed over, Meyer finds it. Baker, here's Vance with viciousness.
Good save by Ruiz. Scooped over by Elbow. Trinity Carpenter finishes the set. So the Huskies take set number 1, 25-17.
Sophomore quarterback, that might be in their favor.
Ariano looking for the bomb. A little bit of separation. It's underthrown, and he catches it. Oh, what a...
26-25, and that's an ace. And that's set number 3 going to Cibola, 27-25. Della Parker, she pushes it forward. Myers there, Baker, Vance, done. Vance with the victory shot, and Rio Rancho wins 3-2.
Basket bell, ring that bell. Elliott is in for the touchdown. Wow, is he special? I'm glad you came around.
He is.
I wonder who convinced you. That is complete, and then a great move, and he is in. Touchdown, Aiden Cardiel.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
We here at Clark's Pet Emporium welcome you to bring in your pets. We know that having your pet with you makes the experience of shopping for them even better. And we welcome you to bring your kids also. Clark's Pet Emporium, your pet's second best friend.
We fight the battles no one hears about. We drop into the middle of firefights to rescue others.
And act as one-man air traffic control towers.
We're the ones who go before all others.
U.S. Air Force Special Warfare are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
As a mom, I try to make the best choices for my family and our health. That's why I choose Western Sky Community Care. It's a Medicaid plan with quality health coverage and special benefits like Boys and Girls Club membership credit, additional dental benefits, and wellness and support programs. I decide which Medicaid plan is right for us. I choose Western Sky Community Care.
Learn more about Western Sky Community Care by visiting discoverwesternsky.com today.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Our special guest today, Socorro head football coach Damien Ocampo. And Coach, again, thanks for joining us. What a great conversation it was in the first half of the show. And you got the state tournament. You're the number 1 seed. And we're going to get the bracket up here in a minute. But we also wanted to mention, you had mentioned this to me, led the nation in passing in 1998, Gatorade Player of the Year and All-American. So you had a heck of a career there at Socorro, and I'm sure a lot of the community, a lot of kids, of course, weren't born that you're coaching now, but that's got to mean something there, your name in the community there, Socorro, a small community, and pretty connected there as far as former athletes. So that had to give you some instant credibility when you took over the head coaching job, although you mentioned it was a building you had to build, had to get those numbers, but that had to help you a little bit as far as name recognition in the community.
Yeah, I love Socorro. This is my home. This is my wife is from here. I moved here my sophomore year in high school, and I've loved it. I mean, this place, I'll never leave here. Socorro's, I mean, I'm a part of the fabric of this community. I love it to death. And yeah, we had a lot of great success in high school. Like I said, I was lucky to play for a great coach and my dad. And back then, I think I was born a generation too early. Back then, it was the pro style Troy Aikman type quarterback, or it was an option quarterback. And I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so I didn't get recruited much as a pro style quarterback. It was mostly like running and option and stuff. And but in high school, we started running the spread, and back then, not very many teams were doing it. There was no such thing as zone read or anything else that everybody's doing now. I feel like now I kind of flourish in my style, but yeah, we threw the ball all over the place. I had some great receivers. I had two receivers of mine were Division I athletes, and yeah, we were able to light it up, and we did it was really fun. And we kind of put this little community on the map. After I got done out of college, I came back and I coached the first time, and we were solid. We built a good, solid program, one of the better teams in the state. Took about 5 years off, and then just came back, 6 years ago. And yeah, it surely did. I mean, the kids I'm coaching, I played with most of their, uncles or parents or, whatever it might be. So you're absolutely right. It really helped to build the program back.
A Socorro connection for sure. Coach, we mentioned in the first half, your team averaging 45.2 points per game and only giving up 6.3 points per game. You did have a couple of Miramura. You won 46-29. And then you mentioned Raton, another team you feel, and there's the bracket right here. Socorro will get the winner of Dexter and Cobre. Theroux against Hope Christian. And Raton will take the winner of Robertson. Well, West Las Vegas in Newcomb will play Ruidoso, who's the two seed. Talk about that game and that you beat them in Raton. You beat them up there, and that's one of your tests all season long, 27-14. Talk a little bit about that game and what kind of challenge it presented to the Warriors.
Golly, Raton's a lot like we are. They're a smaller school. They're not as deep as the Ruidosos and some of like the St. Mike's for sure. But man, our starters go out there and scrap, and it was like a bare knuckle fight when we went up there. It was such a good game, and their players are so well coached by that coaching staff, and they obviously have one of the best running backs that I've ever coached against, for sure. And their team is they play well and they play hard together. So I think Raton is just as good as any team in the top five. I don't know how they're not in the top five, but I mean, they're one of those teams. Like, it's just, I believe that there's 5 of us that really could beat any of us at any given time, but Raton's definitely one of those teams. And I think they might've been missing a couple players when they played us. Maybe that would have made a big difference. Who knows? But yeah, we have to be ready. I mean, when the bell rings, we got to be ready to fight, because it's going to be a battle.
Any concern at all? Again, that was your toughest game. Miramura put up 29 points on Socorro. They're the ones that scored the most points against the Warriors all year long. And then Raton put up 4 straight shutouts after that. Any concern as a coach that maybe we weren't tested enough? You mentioned the schedule wasn't as tough. Maybe we weren't challenged enough. Any concern going into the playoffs about that?
I think you always have some of those concerns, but I mean, you truly, you know this, you've been in athletics long enough. Any good team, you have to make adjustments, but really every week it's a faceless opponent. You have to work on yourself. You've got to be solid across the board. All the kids have to know what they're doing, and they have to put every ounce of their being in what they're doing and make all the right sacrifices to be able to succeed. So, if you focus on yourself and you're really pushing hard in practice to get better, then a lot of that stuff comes off in the wash, and I feel like some of our district teams were really tough this year. It might not seem like it, but there was some battles, throughout the district season. So, I think we're tested, and I think if we can just keep pushing the way we are, I think we can give anybody a game.
Talk about you talked about your defensive unit, particularly your linebackers. Man, I wish I could see them. I wish I could see them in action. I don't know what games we're going to do, but I remember Roger Holian and I covered that Hope Socorro championship game a couple years ago. But talk about your offensive unit, who averaged 45.2 points per game. We mentioned that's pretty impressive. Talk about your offensive unit as well.
Well, our offense, it was a work in progress all throughout the offseason. We graduated so many linemen up front that we had a bunch of new guys come in. We start 3 to 4 sophomores depending on the week, so we're pretty young up front. But the kids have been trying real hard, and they've been working real hard during the off season and throughout the season to get better. We've had some bumps in the road for sure, but I know these guys want to win, and so they're trying real hard, and we're going to continue getting better up front. Skill wise, we run a spread system, so we try to balance our run and passing attack as much as we can. We try to make sure defenses have to cover the field, not just cover kids in space, but also have to be good in the box to power run game. So we do truly spread the ball, and I think it starts with our quarterback. I think he's the best dual threat quarterback in the state in AAA, and that's Marcus Armijo. He's been leading us for 2 years now, done a great job. He's a kid that can run the ball like a tailback. Probably he would be one of the best tailbacks in the state. And then he can throw the ball as good as anybody. So we're blessed to have him, and his leadership shows up every day. Doesn't say a word unless it's encouraging. And he's always asking how he can get better. So, I mean, he's one of those like dream kids that you have leading your offense. And then, we're a 3A school, so almost everybody goes both ways. So we definitely have a good quality receiving staff, receiving crew. They do a really good job, run really good routes, and they block downfield. We're working on it. We're working on getting better, but they do a good job. We're blessed to have some good tight ends. Again, some of our linebackers and our D linemen moonlight as tight ends, and they do a really good job in there in the box. And then we have 2 running backs. We have Garrett Gutierrez and we have Brian Armijo. And we're kind of banged up there. That's one of the spots where we've been struggling to get healthy, and hopefully we'll get healthy this week and this week off. But they do a really good job. They do everything we're asked. They're asked to do everything from run the ball inside, outside, to block in the box. And man, they do a good job. So we've done a good job across the board on offense this year, putting up points. And I think it starts with our leadership and our scheme.
You mentioned the offensive line, that sometimes offensive lines, they've got to perform each game. There's got to be continuity on the line. You mentioned there's some little bit of hiccups there, but if you look at the Warriors' success offensively, 50 points, 54, 41, 46, 27, 55, 55, 41, and 29. You talked about your skill players on defense, right? You just mentioned your offensive players. It's a system. They seem like a well-rounded team. It really does. Because sometimes line problems can cause holding penalties, not continuity, in sync, right? In rhythm. But this offense here, I just read the scores off. It sounds like they've been operating on all cylinders all year long.
Definitely not all cylinders, but I really believe that, I really believe down deep we're one of the better offenses in the state. And we truly put our best effort forward. We want defenses to really have to cover everything. And when you have a quarterback that's as talented as the one we have, you're blessed to be able to do some of these things. Where you've got a kid that can run the ball inside, and the very next play, he's throwing like a multiple read scheme downfield. He's checking from one down to a third check down, which you don't see very often in high school football, especially at the 3A level, because most coaches don't have enough time to coach it. And a lot of times you don't have those kids playing quarterback position that can throw a 20-yard out route, And, Marcus has been a special kid. And we've been blessed. This is like our 3rd or 4th quarterback in a row who's been lighting it up. I mean, we've been putting up good numbers for the last 4 or 5 years. And shoot, we had a scholarship quarterback that went to Western. I mean, a couple of years ago, he was one of the best I've ever had. But we've been really blessed to have guys that are not just talented, but guys that are willing to put in the time in the offseason to go to quarterback school. They're willing to know and understand, not just our blocking schemes up front, but the defenses, what they're doing, and the adjustments. So that way, when I'm speaking to him about adjustments and checks and everything, he's talking my language. And we've been very blessed to have those type of kids.
Tell you what, Coach, it's very tough. You mentioned quarterbacks. Sometimes when you lose one, it takes sometimes several seasons to replace a good quarterback. And you've had some good luck and good success. Socorro head coach Damien Ocampo, we sure thank you for joining us today, and wish you all the best of luck in your quest for a 3A football championship.
Thank you. God bless.
You bet. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.